Hello, people of Connecticut. My name is Selena Rifkin. I am here with the eminent John Anderson, and we're going to be talking about some interesting things today, and I hope you're ready to have fun with us. I don't know how much fun it is because it's Connecticut, but whatever. So,
I charge for fun by the minute, by the way, so don't have too much
oh,
fun.
okay. Well, I don't think I've got any change on me. What do you charge? Do I have to
A,
feed a meter?
a penny an hour. Uh,
Oh, okay. I can afford that. Hey, wait a
yeah,
minute. No, we can't use pennies because they aren't making them anymore.
that's true. A nickel every 5 hours.
We are not going 5 hours, people. I promise.
No, 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 not at all. We have lives outside of this podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in theory, anyway.
Right, right, right.
So, yeah. So,
S-
yeah, we were going to dive into, I think we were going to start with Adventures in Tolland. Yeah.
yeah. I never thought my town was gonna be the talk of the state, but here we are.
Oh,
Um,
goodness.
for people that are not aware, the Connecticut Judicial Branch purchased a vacant building in Tolland and wants to put up a 20-bed juvenile detention center, which doesn't sound like it should make the news, but the way they went about it is a little ridiculous and secretive. So there's a few articles. Connecticut Insider has one. I believe even NBC 30 did a quick little tidbit on it, although they didn't actually interview anybody from the town. They basically just copied.
What the hell?
Yeah, they basically copied quotes from other articles and then
Oh my
asked somebody in
God.
Manchester how they felt about it in Tallinn, which is just like, what does Manchester have to
Oh,
do with Tallinn?
yeah.
But
Gee, do some journalism, guys.
right, right. So there's a town council member who was just elected in Tallinn. His name is Chris Moran, and he works for the judicial branch as the director of external affairs. For people that are not aware of what that position would be, it is a PR position. So he's the one that talks to everybody in the news about what's going on with the judicial branch. Now, he's claiming, as of a Facebook post, that he knew nothing about this purchase by the Connecticut Judicial Branch and that he has recused himself at work over this ethical dilemma that he is in, being a town council member in Tolland, as well as working for the judicial branch. The issue is the state never contacted anybody in Tolland or our representatives for the state about this potential purchase. They held a secret hearing on November 12th, which was coincidentally right after Chris Moran was elected town council
Well,
in Tolland. Now, I am not ever going to believe somebody that is clearly a PR person that they had no idea. Uh,
I think that's quite fair.
and I see a lot of people defending him, like, oh yeah, it is an ethical this dilemma. And my perspective is, you willingly got elected knowing that this was going to be an issue, because it's not like they just, oh, surprise, we're buying this property. It takes a lot of time for the state to do anything, right? So this isn't something that just happened. This had been in the works, and then they found the property, and they're like, yeah, well, let's buy that. And then they held a secret hearing, didn't contact anybody in town, and this guy clearly knew what was going on and just didn't want to tell anybody because they just wanted to get this thing passed through and then pretend like, oh, sorry, I guess we did what we had to do, and you guys should have said something. So now we've got people like Jeff Gordon, Tammy Nucio, Brian Foley, who is the town of Tolland's manager, up in arms, as well as a lot of residents, because we don't have police in Tolland. We use a resident trooper.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like potential for a problem there.
yeah. And where this facility is going is right next to two daycares and an elementary school. It's across from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's building, and it is across from a grocery store. So it is a highly trafficked area already due to stores, aka Yukon, being right down the road, plus all these little kids. And since we don't have a police force, nobody really wants a juvenile detention center here because with juveniles, you get people that are friends and family of juveniles coming out. And
Mhm.
since we don't have a police force, we really can't manage anything that's going to happen. And the last thing we need is more people coming through the area, potentially causing accidents or doing other things because Tolland is a quiet suburbia, rural suburbia town.
Mhm.
We don't have a lot of crime. We have like zero crime. The only crime that is really ever done here is from people from other towns coming here to perform crimes because we have no police force and we are kind of off the grid.
Okay. Right.
So this guy, Chris Moran, is full of shit. I'm requesting that he resigns because he's clearly in this conflict where he cares more about his position at the judicial branch than he does about the people
Mhm.
that elected him in town.
Mm.
That's not an ethical dilemma. That's just you not being. I'm going to use some choice language. I think he's a pussy. I think he's a coward. And I don't care if he's a Republican or a Democrat. He is a Democrat, but in a position like this, you were elected by the residents. You
Mhm.
have a duty to do what the residents tell you to do. If the residents are up in arms, it's not for you to just be like, I'm going to recuse myself because I work at the judicial branch. Well, if you have nothing to do with the purchasing decision or anything else at the judicial branch, why are you recusing yourself? That to me screams he knew and he's more involved in what he's letting on. And now he's putting it on everybody else in town council to kind of
Deal
just
with it.
do the right thing. And
You guys deal with it. I'm out.
yeah,
So.
yeah, exactly. And not only that, but the judicial branch is like, oh, we apologize for the lack of communication with the important
Oh, for
stakeholders,
crying out
and
loud.
we'll try to be better about this going forward. Now, there's going to be a town hall meeting coming up next, I believe next Tuesday,
Mhm.
um, and they're gonna probably move it to the high school because of how many people are really pissed off about this. And
Mhm.
they're gonna try to figure out a solution to block this because not only is the state gonna buy this building, but they're not gonna pay any property taxes. So we're gonna lose the property taxes that we were getting from this building.
Mhm.
And we're gonna have to deal with the state just having a building here that we have to kind of protect. It's a little ridiculous. And Tolland has already had in January, we already had two town council members that were recently elected resign from their positions due to an affair allegation. And they were a Democrat and an unaffiliated, which we all know unaffiliated in this part of the state means that they were a Democrat. So we've had two Democrats already step down from town council and get replaced with these other two people that clearly are going to have zero experience and not know how to deal with this other than to probably vote the way that Chris Moran tells them to vote.
Mhm.
I think I think personally that Moran was probably told not to say anything, otherwise he'd face backlash, political backlash in Hartford. That's my thought process because everybody is pissed off on the Republican side and on the Democratic side that nothing was said to us. And the state pulling this, oh, we're sorry. It's just not going to cut it. We can't afford to have this facility in the town. We can't afford to lose the tax revenue, and
Mhm.
we can't afford to have to go out and hire more resident troopers from the Troop C barrack, which is down the road in Tolland,
Mhm.
to continue to watch the town. I mean, the dollar doesn't go that far in this area, right? We are already taxed to death. The last thing we need is to have our taxes increase because the state wants to put this detention center here and not do anything to relieve the town of that revenue.
Mhm. Now, do
It's
you
just,
know anything? I mean, it's a juvenile detention center, so I'm sure there's only so much you can actually know about the people who are going to be going into it.
mhm.
Any knowledge of that, or is it just purely it's like, oh, it's juveniles? Do we know age? Do we know anything about this?
We know absolutely nothing
Okay.
other than whatever company that they work with that I believe I sent you an art
Oh, shoot.
or
Mhm.
actually, I don't think the article said. I think it was our town manager posted something on Facebook, and I know you're not on Facebook, and I forgot to grab it, but it was like some weird program,
Mhm.
um, and it's clearly a state-funded program, so who knows?
Mhm.
But the state's gonna run it, or they're gonna have this other place run it, and that could mean anything because we already know how judges rule, right? They get incentivized to put people behind bars now. We've
Uh,
seen it happen in other states. I'm not saying that's the case in Connecticut, but we have no way of knowing until somebody breaks a story that it is the case.
Yeah.
So these guys could very well be putting terrible, terrible juveniles into our area, or they could put know nothing
Yeah.
juveniles.
Yeah, if you don't know, and that's, certainly there are some people that, it's better to have behind bars, but you should have, I mean, you should have some sense of what you're dealing with here. And if it's
Right.
I'm very ambivalent about the the whole paid prison system, whether
Hmm.
that's for adults or for juveniles. And it's interesting because I used to be a libertarian and it was like, oh yeah, that's totally efficient. And unfortunately, what I'm finding is that an awful lot of the stuff that libertarians were advocating are
Yeah.
just so gameable. They're so gameable. And libertarianism relies on people having a specific set of ethics and morals. And apparently we don't have so much of that right now.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little annoyed because this is clearly the state intentionally harming the town, and they'd probably do it with any town. It's not just Tolland.
Oh, I'm
But
sure.
what they,
I'm sure you're not special, but you might
well,
actually be special because, they might be looking at you and going, "Oh, hey, there may be factors here that you're not, you don't know about because chances are they're not going to plunk that thing down in the middle of New Haven."
right. Okay, so I did find some stuff.
Oh,
Um, it's called Regions. Re-entry global oriented individualized opportunity to nurture success.
wow.
That's a mouthful. The program capacity is going to be 12 to 20 beds. Length of stay will be approximately 6 to 12 months,
Hmm.
contingent upon attainment of treatment goals and not predetermined time. I don't even know what the hell that means. The
Hmm.
juvenile court status is the order of probation supervision with residential placement. The staffing, it's going to be minimal staffing. It's going to be therapeutic interventions. They'll
Oh,
have education and vocational programs, um, transition planning, quality assurance, but it doesn't say what types of people are going to go in here. If I had to guess, it's going to be for people that need to be put back into society as a functioning person. So probably kids of traumatic
mm,
backgrounds that deserve a chance, I would say. But it's just this isn't the area to do it.
mm,
We just don't have the money or the capacity to really handle something like this. And um, I think this is an attack not only on Tolland but on Tolland County because we are the most conservative county in the state.
okay.
And
Yeah, well, there's your alternative explanation.
yeah, and I think this was a play. I think Chris Moran knew this, and that's why he stayed quiet, is because he knows that the Democrats have slowly been taking over power in this part of the state, so he figured that this wasn't going to be an issue. Well, unfortunately, all this is going to do is piss off a lot of the conservatives and a lot of the people on the left. I've never seen people get so unified over this ridiculous thing from both sides to the point that I don't think he's going to get reelected. As much as people are buying into his whole PR, like I didn't know the guy is a PR guy. Like
That's his job.
don't don't listen to somebody like a child could see through his bullshit. There's just so many holes in his posts that I sent you to say how are you going to say in one breath this, but then in another breath you're saying this. Your story isn't adding up. This is kind of ridiculous. So I think that the Republicans are probably going to fight back, and if anything, it's going to help us come the November election because we don't want to continue to get stepped on and treated like we don't exist just because the Democrats have power throughout the state. So I think something like this is a huge misstep. And Lamont hasn't said anything. I know he's not in charge of the judicial branch, but he
Mm.
still needs to speak up. He needs to prove the point as to why this is or isn't a good idea and how they decided that out of all areas that putting it between two daycares and an elementary school was the best option.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, hey. This is just like, yeah, I mean, I can't like, yeah, I can't think of a worse location. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, who thought that was a good idea? And you know, you have to wonder how much of this is like, did someone just not think this through, or was it deliberate?
Right.
You know, we can't know that. We weren't in on the discussions, but you know, either way.
Well, based on the secrecy, I'm leaning towards deliberate. And the amount of people on the left that are like, well, there's no way you guys didn't know. It's like you have no idea what goes on, and you're listening to what Chris Moran and the state judicial branch are telling you versus what the actual facts were that were presented to the Republicans. If nobody told the Republicans, if they had no idea that the state was doing this, they wouldn't have just randomly started to research that this was something that was going to be done. They wouldn't have known about the November 12th hearing unless they were notified because that hearing took place in Hartford. It didn't take place in Tolland.
Mhm.
So there's too much trickery going on. And for the left to be like, well, come on, you can't really say that you didn't know, and now you're just trying to turn it into this huge event. It's like if people found out in November, they would have been pissed off then, and they would have tried to put in a block on the sale of this building.
Mhm.
That didn't happen. So I don't want to. And then people are like, it's always the whataboutism or the hindsight is 2020. Like, oh, look at all this information we found. It's like, yeah, that's because it's a public thing now. So you know that you can go and look at this stuff and find information. If we weren't aware of it, we wouldn't have had any idea this was going
No one
on
would have been
to
looking.
Google. Exactly,
Yeah, no
exactly.
one's gonna look unless they know there's something to look for.
Right. But that's not how they see it. They're like, well, you should have known to look. How would people have known to look for something if they never thought it was going to happen?
Yeah. I know. Yeah, yeah, you gotta have, yeah, it doesn't make any damn sense. It's like, well, we don't have lives where we stare at the legislature, although they need staring at.
Right.
No.
Well, and personally, I think that instead of these juvenile delinquency centers, why are parents getting in trouble for raising kids that are having issues like this?
Yeah, yeah, you know, there's some question around that. Now, I'm gonna go with there's there are times because I've been in this position where
Hmm.
do absolutely everything you can to make sure
Sure.
that that kid is not doing something they're not supposed to be doing. And
Right, right,
this gets to be a point where you can't handle it anymore.
right.
Um, so that's a very interesting line, and I can see some space for some accountability here.
Hmm.
Um, and where that gets difficult is that there's the worse things get socially, the more likely you are to have psychologically damaged teenagers out there.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's like, and then there's the, you know, the way we treat mental health problems. But there's also, you know, there's also the socialization piece. If you have a very aggressive male, young
Hmm.
male, you know, if they're not socialized by 2.5 years old, they ain't gonna be.
Right,
That's in the psychological literature. It's like they
right.
don't get, especially boys. You
Hmm.
know, it's like girls are much just because boys are more aggressive. It's like, sorry, it's the testosterone.
Yeah,
You know, it's like there's tons of physiology behind that. But yeah, if you don't have them socialized by two, and the more and the more in the literature, the more they try, the worse they get.
yeah.
So that's, you
Well,
know, that's where we end up the problem. But you know, you know, I ended up raising a kid who
hmm.
had serious problems, and you know, I don't even want to say where she is right now. Um, but it's like we did everything we could that we
Yeah,
knew how to do, you know,
yeah.
it didn't work.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, not only that, but like my sister was a foster parent, and she
uh,
had to go through all those classes to get the
right.
whatever license or certification.
Mhm.
And a lot of the other people that were there to be foster parents, they didn't actually want to be parents. They just wanted to get the check from
Right,
the
right.
state.
It's a job. They want
Yeah,
a job.
yeah.
They didn't want to be a parent.
And that's the thing. I think our entire system is busted in this state, and they've just never really addressed it. Like CPS or Child Protective Services, whatever they're called in Connecticut, they're awful. It seems like they
I've
can't
heard
place.
I've heard a lot of stories like I haven't was really hoping to get somebody on the podcast, but she sort of ghosted me, so I don't know
Mhm.
what happened. But yeah, I've heard some stories that they're just really not good. And
Yeah.
there was that little girl that they found the body in the dumpster recently, and
Oh,
and they
out
tried,
in like the New Britain area.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, tried to blame it on homeschooling, which had nothing to do with anything, and
Yeah. Of course, they want to attack every possible angle. They never want to just look at the true facts, which is people are evil. And it doesn't matter if you're left or right. There are people that are capable of evil things.
Mhm.
And part of the problem is I know that so many people call CPS on such minute problems
Mhm.
that they get backfilled. And I think that's the craziest part is we have so many petty people in this world in this
Mhm.
state that are willing to call on their neighbors because their kid's out in the front playing and it's not a fenced in area and all of a sudden I need to call CPS because that's dangerous and it's
Oh
like
Lord. Yeah.
give it a rest. Like if a kid is out playing, if he's like 9 or 10 years old, is that really a CPS thing? Don't you think the kid knows better to not run out into the road or to look both ways? Like he's not two, he's not three. And then you have people that are like, well, he's 6, and it's like okay, but he still knows better. That's not something that you call CPS on. So then CPS is investigating this, and they're looking at the parents, calling the parents horrible. I've had a doctor who threatened to call CPS on me and my wife over co-sleeping because you can't co-sleep. And it's like, well, doctor, you're not in our house. You're not the one that's dealing with our crying toddler because she doesn't want to sleep by herself. The
Mhm.
only way she falls asleep is co-sleeping. And if we can do co-sleeping safely because we've read the literature and we know how to protect it, then
Right.
there's no issue. So for our own doctor, which we fired and we have since moved on to a
Good.
different one,
Good.
it was just a little ridiculous that even doctors have us do surveys and then they send it to the state to say that our kid is either developmentally slow or whatever, and then it opens up this whole case with
I had no idea.
CPS.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, we've had to do a survey literally every single well visit, and my wife and I just look at each other like, do we lie? Like, how do we know? Like, how do they interpret what we see versus what they see? So we put down whatever is going to pass them,
Mhm.
whether or not it's true. It doesn't really matter because
Mhm.
at the end, every child is different. That's what everybody says. So for the state to just have this survey and to just want to be in the doctor's offices and want to be like, it's like they want to take our kids away from us and
Well,
they want to raise the
I
kids.
think I think that Jason is right and that what they are, that is exactly what they're trying to do. I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. And I had no idea, Jay, that was happening. And that is unbelievably intrusive.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
And it's just crazy because there's some program. It's like first 23 or something like that, where
Mhm.
it's like, oh, if your kid isn't speaking or doing this at this age, then there's a problem. And it's like, okay, but what if
Happen to, unique human
R
being.
right. And then, I mean, fortunately, our daughter was pretty advanced. Like she was talking and walking at a very young age,
Mhm.
but it wasn't talking the way that they wanted to talk. It wasn't stringing together all these words in a row. And it's like, shut the fuck up. It's a 2-year old. Like, what are you're expecting full sentences, full paragraphs? You want her to start writing like the
Mhm.
Bible? Like, give me a break here. Let the kids learn. They learn at different paces, and it's wild to me that the state does so much to take away our rights as parents. They encourage doctors to do the same, and that's why you have all these doctors giving these hormonal treatments to kids is
Oh, yeah.
because they don't have to tell the parents. Even if they're under 18, like after you hit 13, you don't need a parent with you anymore, and that's got to change as well. Like and doctors are just doing it in secret. Kids have no reason to tell their parents, and the
Mhm.
parents don't know. And then all of a sudden, why does little Jimmy look like little Kimmy?
Mhm.
Right? Like, what's going on here? Oh, and then it comes out, well, I've been getting this treatment. And then all it does is the parents really can't say anything other than get mad and kick the kid out, right? So,
Yeah, and that's
our
that's something that was inserted into state law in Connecticut. Do you remember when?
it had to be within the last couple of years.
Yeah, it might have been 2023, and it was
Yeah,
inserted into another bill. And
yeah.
there were a number of Republican senators that signed right on to that. So,
Yeah. And when we were looking for a doctor, we interviewed quite a few doctors.
oh,
Like
that.
as if we're hiring, right, for a
Oh,
job.
yeah. Kind of
Um
had to.
and the one question that I kept asking, and this was in 2023, the one question I kept asking is how do you feel about parental rights?
Mm,
And the amount of doctors that were like, well, and it's like, no, 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 well, I think I know what's best for my kid. You do not know what's best for my kid. You are
yeah,
a
no
medical
premarital
doctor.
here.
Right. You do not live with my child. You do not deal with my child. So don't say, well, you
Mm.
are a doctor that has no experience in psychiatry whatsoever. So you should not just be like, well, I'll give them HRT if they ask for it. It's like, well, you won't be seeing my child because that is ridiculous. So we went through probably 4 interviews before we settled on this one doctor. And
Mm,
then it was fairly quickly that we realized this is not the doctor we want because of these thrusts to CPS for co-sleeping. And to be quite honest, our country is like the only country that doesn't co-sleep. If you go over to Europe, they encourage co-sleeping, and most people co-sleep with their child until they're like about a year old.
mhm.
So I know the fear is, well, if you pass out, you could suffocate your kid. It's like,
Right. People have been
okay,
doing this
well,
for millions of years.
right, right. But it's also like, okay, but why do you want to separate your child from you
Hmm.
at night? Like, where's the bonding?
Yeah.
Right? And that's gonna ruin them psychologically as well. So, like, how do we know that this lack of co-sleeping in our country has led to this uh,
Yeah.
mental problem that we have now?
That's a
Because
really good point. It's,
because they
attachment problems.
exactly, and they don't
Attachment's
seem to.
big.
They don't really have these types of problems in the rest of the world where co-sleeping is. They're like our rates for depression and
Mhm.
everything else mentally health related is off the charts compared to other countries.
Yeah.
So there has to be a link, right?
Hmm.
They're finding links all the time, and it's just I think it's one of those links that they just want to ignore because they don't want to explain how to co-sleep. They just want to say don't co-sleep.
Right.
And it's
Well,
just
honestly, the education that doctors get in school right now it's very much focused on put whatever's going on with you in a category so that they can give you drugs for it. Because if
right,
there's no defined category, then they don't know what to do.
right, right.
And
And
anything that doesn't involve, that might actually involve healing or doesn't cost as much money, like say good nutrition,
mhm.
I don't know anything about that. So
Yeah,
I bet
yeah.
they get less. I mean, doctors get maybe 2 hours of nutrition on average training. I bet they don't go anything on code sleeping. I bet
Right.
nothing there.
Well, it's not only that, but new studies come out every year. Like information that they learned in school is probably not even close to being accurate anymore because of how much we've advanced even in the last 20 years medically. Like
Mhm.
and what are these doctors doing? They're going to conferences that are sponsored by the pharmaceutical companies. Now everybody's getting the GL1P versus
Right.
nutrition, like you're talking about. Like
Mhm.
it's crazy for people to put so much faith into these doctors and for these doctors that I get that they have the God complex, but like they've been so wrong over the last 4 or 5 years that it has tarnished the medical industry. And now they still want to throw around their dick and pretend like they have any say in anybody else's life. It's
Mhm.
just crazy. And the state is the one that's giving them this power. And it's like enough of this. Like our system is broken right now.
Yeah.
It's so broken that you guys are secretly putting a detention center in an area that can't have the detention center.
Next to a daycare.
Right, right, right. So,
A daycare. That's,
yeah.
oh my God. Oh.
A- And not only that, but you had mentioned that the judges want a pay raise now?
Yes, the judges would really like I think it's an uniment, I will tell you, it's a 2 to 3% pay raise. They currently are getting, the head Superior Court judge is currently getting $285,000 a year. And I believe they get their own car to use. So,
Really?
but that is very much below what other state Supreme Court judges get.
Hmm.
And what's very interesting is like, can we point out the Connecticut is a pretty small state.
Right.
We don't have, we've got, it's like what, 3 million people or so here, I think. It's like, how much could you be doing? And you want to be paid $300,000 a year.
Hmm.
And what are you doing? What have you been doing to earn that? Because, seriously, what's happened to our rights in Connecticut is like I'm pretty sure that, there is a lot of um perhaps judicial malpractice going on. There's certainly, I haven't like gone through those rulings, but I can't just look at that and go, "Oh, I'm sure they're doing a great job."
Yeah. Well, so it's funny. In 2022, the Chief Justice was making $226,711.
Okay.
And that's the same as the governor. So if it's gone up to 285 over the last couple of years, I think he's gotten his raise.
Well, they
Uh,
did say they appreciated the raise they'd already gotten, but they would like more. Thank you very much.
well, appreciation for something you got it means that that's enough. It doesn't mean, well, now we want more. That's just greed. So it's just it's crazy to me. Like they don't even see that many cases, and they've got a pretty easy job because you can't legally sue the state of Connecticut without getting permission from the state of Connecticut to sue the
Uh,
state of Connecticut.
oh, I'm sure that's totally going to happen.
Right,
Yeah,
right, exactly.
by a mess.
So they're not even seeing a lot of cases that they should be seeing, which is
Okay,
just crazy to
I'm
me.
going to correct myself here. It's $248,936 a year.
I mean,
So yeah,
that's gone up.
yeah, that's what they're getting now.
Well,
That was after their pay raise that you mentioned earlier. So,
that's a $22,000 pay raise since
yeah,
2022.
yeah.
Jesus.
The chief administrator, the court administrator, is getting 239,000.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's more than a U.S. representative makes. I think a U.S.
Yeah.
representative only makes 235.
Actually, I think it's 174.
Is it? So
I
is it
think
a,
so, yeah.
let's see.
Yeah, double check
Yes.
that because that was the last number I heard. I mean, maybe they've changed that. I don't know. So,
Okay, so the speaker earns 224,
okay.
party leaders make 193,
Yeah.
and representatives make 174. So
Okay.
it must be the U.S. Senate
Yeah, maybe you're thinking of the Senate. I'm sure they make more
salary.
money.
Um, it doesn't say.
Okay.
How does it not say what the U.S. Senate salary is?
Eh,
It must be, I guess it's the same.
maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
U.S. Senators 174. Well, that's crazy.
I don't. But oh, speaking of the Senate,
Hmm.
so what I saw today was that, that senators and representatives and they're all trading on the market and what have you. So guess which senator made the most money last year?
Was it Blumenthal?
It was. You get a prize. I'm not sure what the
Mm.
prize is, but you get a prize. Yeah, it was Blumenthal and he made it was like 17 million, I think. Yeah. Yeah, he wins. He made the
Yeah,
most.
he
I guess
wins. He wins.
he wins.
He
Yeah.
wins the prize of being the most shady. Well, it's funny because I just saw Trump kind of just took a shot at Blumenthal in the state of Connecticut recently.
Mm.
Like within the last week, I
Mhm.
saw him sit down for an interview and he was just saying how Blumenthal is the worst possible person. He has no idea how he keeps getting elected in Connecticut and that he thinks that our elections are also rigged. So he's kind of put a spotlight on Connecticut,
Yay.
which took him long enough. Um, maybe he saw everybody talking about it and was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. But I
Mhm.
think it was probably had to do with that number coming out, that 17 million. So
Yeah.
he's probably told that, and then it's like, you know what, Blumenthal's a piece of shit.
Uh-huh. Well, there is plenty of evidence, and I've talked about this with Jason, that the organization um Unite for Freedom they've done 35 states. They have volunteers. They're totally volunteers. No one gets paid.
Hmm.
And they have volunteers that sit down, go through the voter rolls. They find the dead people. They find the multiple people who are living at the same address. and
Yeah.
voting. It's like, wait a minute, and this is an office.
Yeah.
This isn't, it's like there's all these people living at this office and voting. And this is just, it's a couple of examples. And I sat in on one of their sessions. I'm a volunteer for them. Technically, I've signed up, but I don't do the mathy part. But they
Hmm.
also look at the voter rolls and they will get, because the database that the voter rolls are on is a dynamic system. It's constantly changing. People are going on, people are going off. The dead people are supposed to be removed by ERIC, which is it's basically a company that the state um, pays to do this service. They don't pay them that
Yeah.
much. It's like $25,000 a year. The problem is they're not doing their job because when they go through the voter rolls, there's at least 10,000 dead people who voted in Connecticut in 2024.
But I
And
thought fraud was such a small number when it comes to voting.
what?
I thought fraud was such a small number when it comes to
Well,
voting.
that's what I keep being told online.
Yeah.
And that's just one tiny little piece. So there's all these people who are voting from, offices and what have you. But the
Yeah.
other thing that's really interesting is that if you go through the voter rolls and you look and you take snapshots of them, because when they're doing FOIA requests,
Yeah.
you have to ask for a specific date and time. You can't just if you don't fill the paperwork out, you're not getting it anyway. And
Yeah.
you have to pay. If you're talking to the Secretary of State, you have to pay $300. So every one of these snapshots is costing money.
Yeah.
But what happens is if you look at the voting record, the votes change.
Hmm.
They disappear or reappear over time when there shouldn't be anything.
Mm.
This is, you know, yeah, it's not
What?
cool. It's
So, what if, and I don't know if this is possible, but you know how there's all this opt-out stuff or opt-in stuff that the government puts out? So, like, our data is now being sold to companies, and we
right.
have to opt out.
Mhm.
Um, why can't we just do a full reset and just eliminate everybody's registration and make every single
I would
person
love to.
re-register in the
Yeah.
state
I think
and
that would be a great idea. It would be the
it's
honest thing to do, at least
it's a reset. Yeah.
yeah, it would be a
Yeah.
reset. I mean, it's not gonna, if we did it like that, we aren't necessarily gonna eliminate the non-citizen voters.
Sure.
But it'd be a good start. It'd be a good
Yeah.
start. So,
Well, I think part of the SAVE Act, right, with the IDs, I
mhm.
think I've seen that Trump is saying that he's going to be putting ICE at as many poll stations as he possibly can,
Okay. And,
to
and that's
limit.
and that's a good idea. I'm all for it, but I don't think that that particular piece is what's happening in Connecticut. I
N-
know it does happen because I've
Yeah.
a couple stories. But I don't think that's huge in Connecticut. But you know what? It could be in some places. So,
Hmm.
it probably depends. I'm sure they'll figure
I,
out if they're going to do that. I'm sure they'll figure out where, which has certainly got people freaked out.
I have some ideas. Probably the cities like Hartford,
I think.
Bridgeport, Waterbury, and then your favorite, New Haven with Mayor Elicker, right?
Oh,
Who
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
and
he's a
he wants more money, right?
yeah, oh, he does. He wants more money for the schools. It's like let's throw more money at the schools because that apparently is going to solve all the problems. But yeah,
They're last in education, right?
yeah, it's like the student number that can read to grade in New Haven County, it's gone up a teensy bit, like a point from
Hmm.
last year. But it's hang on. I had this pulled up. Let's see, history.
This is the problem with not having cultures of discipline
Yeah.
and academia.
So reading, overall K-12 proficiency, 23.4% of students met or exceeded expectations. Ooh, that's a little bit better because in last year it was 22.1%. Math is even better. Math, 14.4% of students met or exceeded expectations.
Let
And
me let,
and
let me ask a question.
that's up by a point from last year.
Does that show race?
No, no, this is just a general across the board thing. It
Okay.
doesn't break it down.
And
Yeah,
that's only public schools?
that's just public schools because
Okay.
we have a ridiculous, we've got something like 400 private schools in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean
know how many of those are actually in New Haven, but
we have all those boarding schools.
yes, we do. Yes, we
Yeah.
do. And when they start talking about how great Connecticut schools are, I'm pretty sure they're just wrapping that in
Oh yeah.
because Bridgeport and Hartford and Waterbury are no better than New Haven. I mean,
Right.
this is crazy. There's no
But
reason for this.
but then you get the Taft School, you get Kingswood out of West Hartford, you have Kent, right? You have Loomis Chaffee, Choate, right? You've got all these expensive boarding schools that have people coming in from other states and around the world.
Yeah.
That yeah, these are all people that are going to the Ivy Leagues or really high up at academia, like post high school. So
Mhm.
that's what makes us look good. But I mean, the public schools when I was there, it was a lot better than it is now. And the type of behavior that these kids have is changed because schools are, it was like right before COVID or I think my sister had her son was like going through this where a lot of kids just weren't getting in trouble. They
Mhm.
were just free reign doing terrorizing other students because the cops couldn't really do anything. They couldn't really put these kids into any programs. There's no more specialty schools for these
Uh-uh.
kids that have issues like behavioral issues.
Mhm.
So the schools just don't know what to do with them. And what it does is it causes a problem with education. And then you had COVID happen, and then nobody learned. And
Yeah, don't learn anything.
this is the first generation in a long lines of generations where Gen Z is not smarter than millennials.
Heard that. I heard that. That's,
Yeah,
honestly, I am very skeptical of the entire public school system, and I despise teachers' unions. So it's like full stop on that. Uh,
sure.
But so a little bit more about New Haven Public Schools, and apparently they they have an awful lot of teacher absences due to illness or personal time. And I'm putting that in quotations for those who are just listening.
We call it burnout.
Yeah. So they're missing an average of 17.8 days of school, each teacher.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And there's only 180 days in the school.
Yeah, yeah. They
So
get the
that's,
whole summer off.
yeah. So that means that there's 175 to 180 teacher absences every day. And those are actually getting paid. They have to be, it's not like teachers lose salary
Right,
because
because they're on a
have to pay.
contract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not going to. People of New Haven are having to pay more, or the state, because he's obviously looking for state money here.
hmm
That's, yeah. And I can't help but wonder if those numbers aren't pretty much the same for the other big cities.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it probably will be pretty close. And oh, it just drives me crazy because they can't figure it out. And when I say a culture of discipline, what I mean is if you go to a suburban school,
Mhm.
you're not going to have those levels so low. And it's got nothing to do with equity. It's got to do with the environment within the school and how the teachers command respect and how parents have given power to these teachers
Mhm.
to discipline their kids.
Right.
And not that teachers are babysitters, but I think that's how they see it
Mhm.
in those cities is that teachers are babysitters. And that's why you have that burnout rate
Mhm.
where teachers are missing so many days. And really, yeah, I think what you should do is you should eliminate the unions in areas where it has shown that there has been no impact on education.
No, they're
And if
not. I mean, the teachers' unions aren't there for the students.
right, they're there for each other
Yeah.
when it comes down to it. But it should be incentivized, right? Every other job is incentivized where you could get a bonus. So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
maybe that's what you do with these teachers.
And the
You
unions
create
won't allow that. They won't allow that kind of incentive. If you do a good job, you don't get to be rewarded.
right, and that's just it blows my mind that they because that just shows you they don't think that they're very good at their job.
Mm,
And they don't want to put that incentive out there because people might feel that, well, I'll never get that bonus. Well, you will. You just got to be a good teacher. You're
yeah.
just admitting that you're not a good teacher,
Yeah.
that you don't want to ever push your students and make sure that they're passing.
Mm,
And that's crazy. And it's part of it because those those teachers are treated like babysitters in the inner city.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, if you want to talk about teaching a little bit here, is that let's start with, and I don't know if you know this statistic, but apparently the schools of teaching are taking in the students with the lowest SAT scores of all the people who go to college.
Oh,
And I don't want to say that an SAT score is an IQ test, but an SAT score is an IQ test.
correct.
And so that's just one piece.
Yep.
And the other thing is that most teachers now are women. And you were talking, and this is what made me think of it, is you were talking about, it being a kindergarten and not wanting to push people. Women are very high psychologically on the agreeableness scale.
Yep.
Sorry, ladies, you're probably being too nice, and you got to figure out how
Yeah.
to do it without being a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher in high school, junior high school, because I had junior high school. And everyone was terrified of this woman.
Hmm.
Now, I admit it, she kind of looked like a Valkyrie.
Yep.
She was tall and buxom and very blonde. Uh,
Sure.
not the prettiest thing, bless her. Um, but all the kids were terrified of her.
Yeah.
But she did not raise her voice. She did not need to raise her voice. She had mastered the presence of being in the room and
Commanding
controlling.
respect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she commanded respect. I love
Yeah.
her. She was great. She and I got along really well.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, it sounds like the movie Dumb and Dumber. You got dumb teachers teaching dumber students.
Oh, good God.
Uh,
Oh,
it
man.
it's like that movie Idiocracy, right? Where we are getting more stupid as a society.
Oh.
But and then to bring it back, because I know we only have a couple minutes left, but when we were talking about mental health earlier, I wanted to bring up what just happened on Rhode Island at the
Oh,
hockey
yes,
arena.
yes. Yeah, we had talked about that. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
So I think it was Providence at some ice rink in Providence. A high school hockey game was going on,
Mhm.
and I think his name was Robert, but he went by Roberta. Has 6 kids. Showed up to this place. He's trans or identified as a woman. Shot his wife, killed a daughter,
Oh,
and then shot 3 others. So he killed his wife, he killed one of his daughters, and then he shot 3 other people in his family, which could have been his other kids. And then a good Samaritan actually took him out and killed him.
okay.
So I find it interesting because this is the second quote unquote mass shooting in a row in our part of the country, which was the
Mm,
Boston College shooting.
okay.
And then this one in Providence happened within a couple weeks, probably within a week of each other, right?
Wow.
And they're both trans. They both identified as trans.
Yes.
And that community has been very fucking quiet on social media
Mm,
since this shooting. And uh, I don't know what we do about this. I think we talked a little bit about the mental health issue, and
mhm.
I don't know, like, do you start forcing people to go see a therapist? Like, what do we do?
I have to say that I have no confidence in therapists at this point.
That's
Um,
fair.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to help. And, we've talked. I know that it didn't help in our situation. Um,
Hmm.
but there's got to be, I mean, I think this goes back to the medical profession. And while a lot of the, statements about, um, from libertarians is like, well, you don't want to trans a kid, but, if an adult wants to do that to their body, fine.
Yeah,
I am really coming down to the place where, as if you're a physician, isn't that supposed to be do no harm? And if
right.
you're buying into someone's delusion about themselves,
Hmm.
there's the guys who just dress up as women so that they can be specifically so that they can
Cross-dressers.
predators
Yeah,
cross.
yeah.
Well, I mean, there's men who dress up as women because they literally want to be in women's spaces and prey on women. So
Okay, yeah,
there's that piece. And then
yeah.
there's the men who are you've heard of autogynophilia?
Is that the like is similar to like body dysmorphia where
Not well, it has similarities, but it's basically men who get off imagining themselves as women.
ooh, okay, that's
Yeah. So it's a little more complicated.
most people have a foot fetish, I guess, but that's just
I know. It's a thing. I recommend the book titled Trans,
Mhm,
by I think it's Helen Joyce. It's a really good book. I did a review of it. Maybe I'll just post that in the show notes. If you're going to read one book on trans, it's a good one.
mhm,
She's very compassionate about the situation. She goes into the whole history. But this is one of the things she's talking about. It's like we really don't understand this condition because it's
yeah,
not that common. So, of course, it hasn't been studied. So, in
right,
terms of how to help men who have this problem, and it's men, it isn't women, women who
mhm,
want to be men, that is a different psychological framework.
yeah,
Um, and so there's men who want to be who like it, I mean, these are the ones that get implants and
yeah,
they enjoy dressing up. And apparently this guy was one of those. But the problem is when you start
oh,
messing with people's hormones and you've already got a mental problem,
mhm,
this and I don't know how they do those hormones. If they're
I
doing
don't know,
artificial hormones, my guess is they're doing it because I do know that they're using bioidentical hormones.
yeah,
My guess is that they're doing both estrogen and progesterone at the same time, which
mhm,
is not I mean the cycling, that's for women that means something. I don't
right,
know what that does to men. And progesterone is not a very friendly hormone. I will tell you,
yeah,
because
that's
I'm on hormones, and I've talked about this on the show before.
yeah.
Progesterone is not a friendly hormone. But, for women, it's really important to have that. I don't know what that does to men.
I
And
mean, it's got to be all negative at this point, right? Because I've
yeah, well, I think there's considerable evidence at this point that this is literally dangerous to other human beings.
yeah. Well, it's funny though because like I've joked about this with like people in my family, but I think we need to make bullying great again. We've done so much to eliminate bullying from school, and I get it, right? Bullying is terrible,
Mhm.
but there's some cases that show like if you are bullied about situations like from
Yeah,
your peers, you are less likely to continue down that path because you're being fed that
yeah.
social cue that
Hmm.
it's not you're not doing what everybody else is doing and you're weird for it. So
Yeah.
I think I don't want to say physical bullying is should be brought back, but I do think that bullying should be allowed in some capacity because a lot of these people would get bullied. I mean, that's what bullying does. It gets the taboos out of society. And
Mhm.
since we've eliminated bullying as much as possible over the last 20, 30 years, I think we're seeing the
Niceness
effects.
going on here. There's some
We're
toxic niceness.
Yeah, we're seeing the effects of that lack of bullying. Now all these kids think that they're God's greatest gift to the earth and that they can do no wrong and that they're always right. And it's like, if I was your friend, I would bully the shit out of you. And I would make fun of
I
you
would mock your
constantly.
butt because you
Exactly.
deserve it.
Exactly. Exactly. And then they'd probably grow up to be a normal person.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but there's been studies that show that bullying does work
Hmm.
and we've eliminated it, and now you've got all these fucking weirdos because over the last 30 years, there's
Yeah.
been no bullying.
Yeah. Yeah. What I find, because I know personally a couple of men who are presenting as women
Hmm.
and who've had like top surgery, but not bottom surgery. Apparently I've heard, I'm not, geez, is that accurate? The guy had actually had bottom surgery and his wife divorced him because of it.
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah, that was, and I don't know if that's accurate. That's one of those things where I
Yeah.
that one was accurate, but um, I can't imagine why a guy would have bottom surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that's a dickectomy. No.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's funny too is like we live in an age right now where we have VR, we have AI. So if these people have these issues, throw in a mask, pretend
You
in
know,
the digital space.
right? You
That's
know
where
what
you
that?
get your fill.
Yeah, but but the other side of that is, do you want to feed into it?
No, no,
Yeah,
but
so but it's like if you gotta.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
like we have different options here. And
Exactly.
unfortunately, some of this stuff really and then there's the pedophiles, and that's a completely different conversation.
Right.
But
Right.
he sounds like he was an autogynophiliac. If you have to, if you have to categorize.
Hmm.
I'm I'm not sure. And the only reason that so many grown men are like managed to do this in the last few years is because of this stuff happening during COVID. And they
Yeah.
just kind of slipped it all in there. And, one of the people I know he'd had issues with this most of his life. And
Hmm.
because COVID happened and it suddenly became much easier, and you didn't have to go through that really long process, because it used to be that before they did any surgery at all, you had to live as the opposite sex for, at least a year. And then,
Hmm.
there was still some more before they would even refer you to surgery. So,
Right.
there was a much
Wow.
longer process, which if we were going to still do it, if doctors were still going to do it, which I am not convinced that is in the name of your Hippocratic oath there.
Yep.
Um, I'm not convinced. I know that there are people who are in fact happier. I've heard stories like that too. And,
Hmm.
it's like one of the people that I know has a girlfriend,
Right.
and apparently, works, does, he does sound for a biker bar and nobody cares. It's in the middle of the country. And
Jeez.
apparently nobody cares. And it's like, great. Okay. If nobody cares, nobody cares. It's like, okay, you're an adult. But I have my,
Well,
but I'm like, how moral is this? You know?
S- So there, I think the best solution, along with the VR stuff, is I don't know if you know about this, but there are prisons that are currently testing this where they've got this really enhanced VR where they're putting prisoners in this and they're test trialing it right now. And say you get a 10-year sentence in the real world, they
Mhm.
make you put on this mask, you sit in this chair, and you do your 10 years in a virtual world, but it's like you're in the actual prison and it really feels like it's the full 10 years and it
Oh,
could only be like 6 months, right?
okay.
So if we've got the technology that will do that, then I think you're talking about they used to have to live like a woman for a year. Why
Mm.
not put them through that? Put them in this
Oh,
and
yeah.
say,
Give them the cramps, give them the whole 9 yards.
exactly, exactly, and say, "Do you want this is what it's like, right?"
Yeah.
And then they can live that way in the VR world where they're not disturbing anybody, and they'll really see if they want to do this or not, and if they do after that,
Here's the problem.
whatever.
Here's the problem, because the whole 9 yards isn't something we are medically equipped to do.
But virtually, right?
Virtually, yeah,
If
I imagine,
if
because they can give that. But if you do it virtually and you're able to do it accurately virtually, that's a promise we can't keep if they
right,
decide they want to do it.
but again, what I'm saying is maybe they don't really do it, but they if they want it, if they feel like they are, you have to do it virtually. You don't get to
Oh,
change
I
your
say
body in the
you
real
don't.
world.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I was
Yeah, 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 yeah.
confused. I was
Yeah,
confused.
no, it's I mean it could go either way. I mean I could see it as, make them live for a year and then if they want to do it, they want to do it, but you don't get the full experience in
Mm,
in the real world. But if you can get the full experience in the virtual reality world
mm,
where the machine could make it feel like you have cramps, right?
mm,
Put them in the machine. If you want to change your sex, you can't do it in the real world, but you can be on this machine and
mm.
you can do it and just leave it at that. Like you've got a mental issue, do it that way. And then
Yeah,
just
it is interesting. And then there's also yeah, I mean that's a whole conversation for interesting implications, which they better do a lot of studies on that, because you know what? We used to have cultural knowledge and you kind
Mhm.
of knew what to do. And a lot of us, it's like we're so lost right now because all of our cultural knowledge has gone down the drain because everything's moved so fast.
Yeah,
This is one of those things where that could there's so many ways things could go wrong. That's just life. And now
right.
like got all of this other stuff. I mean, come on, who hasn't seen The Matrix? You know?
Right, right.
So uh,
Oh man. Well, on that note, I think we can wrap it up, right? You've
I
got
think I
you
think
got
we can,
places to be.
yeah. Yeah, I think we're there. Okay. So,
Perfect.
all right. So, God bless America. God bless Connecticut. May we all thrive and catch all the things that are they're trying to do to our towns.
Yeah,
And I hope to see you guys on the other side. So that's all. Let's all have a good few days, and I'll see you guys on Thursday with Jason.
absolutely. Stay warm.
Yep, yeah, we're gonna try. We're gonna try. All right. All right. Bye, guys.